Welcome to Chris and Jen in the Morning.
Where it's always morning somewhere. I'm Chris.
And I'm Jen. And we are super excited for you to be here today with us on this very special edition of Chris and Jen in the Morning, where we are talking about
Wicked!
Wicked!
We have both seen the movie at different times. We were not together, unfortunately, and so we have not really talked to each other a whole lot because we've wanted to record this conversation.
Yeah, I'm in Chris withdrawal because we haven't caught up about anything going on in our lives because we have been... We knew that there was no way that we could see the movie and not talk about it. So I saw it first, which means I definitely would have spoiled it. And then Chris saw it, and I was like, well, I can't talk to him now because
That's all we'll talk about.
We'll do all the talk, and we won't have anything to share.
Right.
So, spoiler alert, if you have not yet seen the movie, you should stop and not listen any further because we are just going to do a whole episode of spoilers.
That's right. Of the Broadway musical, of the Wicked movie, and Wicked for Good movie. So if you haven't seen it yet and you don't want anything ruined, go ahead and press pause and come back to us after you've seen it yourself.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely go see it.
You should.
Because
absolutely.
We loved it. But that is probably not a surprise to anyone that knows us. So,
however, just some housekeeping to get started with. We are dropping this episode this week as soon as possible, and we will be foregoing our normal Thursday schedule because it is Thanksgiving here in the United States. So we will be busy eating turkey, cooking, and then possibly watching football. I don't, not in my sphere, but others possibly.
Like the parade. Gonna watch the parade. Gonna read the ads. Like that is, they've been putting less of them in the paper, and that's like kind of stealing my joy.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I mean, I often don't even go buy anything anymore, but I just want to
look at it in paper. So we will not be releasing our regularly scheduled episode. However,
although we will have some fun things coming to you on Thanksgiving.
Right.
So check out our YouTube, keep your eyes glued, and our website, www.chrisandjenitm.com, because you do not want to miss out on our little happy Thanksgiving treats that we'll be sending your way. They are worth watching. I guarantee you. I heard the producer cackling, so
that's how you know it's going to be good content, people.
Yeah. So before we hop right in to, I should have said fly right in maybe to the episode.
Missed opportunity.
Before we fly right into the episode on our brooms, let's start with gratitude, and I'll start.
Okay.
I just want to say I am wickedly grateful for Eric. He is the fantastic person who does my hair and lifts my soul and brings joy to my life. And today he changed me for good. I have been changed for good. I have this great new freshened up hair. And I got to tell you, not only do I so enjoy, and I am so blessed and fortunate to get to have people in my life who I can sit down in the chair and say, I have no idea what I want, and you're going to make better choices than me. And I fully trust you, so just make it happen. And he does it every time, and he's just amazing. But also, somebody that you can spend an hour with and just be like, this is not enough time because you are a delightful person and you lift my soul. And going to get my hair done, I don't look at myself. It's really not for me. But what is for me is how he fills my soul with happiness and love and lots of just warm wonderful thoughts, and he brings a smile to my face that reaches way inside my heart. So, Eric, I hope you're listening to hear me say how grateful I am for you. You are one of a kind. Your skills in hair are like just amazing. I've never met anyone quite so talented as you. And your skills in just humans in general is, I mean, you are just a gift to all of us. And I'm so grateful that you're here.
So if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and looking for someone to not just do your hair, but, you know, touch your
Lift your
soul.
soul. Reach out. I got the person.
Well, that's awesome. And I know that this is an appointment that you've been looking forward to, and I'm happy that it
Always.
was all that you wanted to, more than just the hair.
Yeah,
It's,
I
again, that
am
connection.
kind of the worst at doing things to physically manage myself. I mean, I do my like skincare routine every day, and I'm like just super religious about that. I have to be because I was not blessed with, you know, like the kind of skin that you can just be like, whatever. So I have to be really on top of that. But like with it was 5 months since I last saw him because I forgot to book my appointment when I was there last.
Uh,
So, I'm so grateful for him and for how he makes me look better.
well, welcome to Jen's new hairdo.
Yeah, I have been changed for good.
So my gratitude moment actually comes from this last weekend. So when the movie came out, when Wicked for Good came out, our friends reached out to us and who live in Nutley, New Jersey, and invited us to come out and make a weekend of it. So we headed out Friday night. We ended up playing. Frank had gotten me a Monopoly version of Wicked, so we played that Friday night.
Love
And
that.
then we on Saturday got up and, bopped around, did some brunching, some shopping, and then on Saturday night we went and saw Wicked, and it was amazing. But we'll get to that in a moment. And then on Sunday we just kind of like got up, had a lazy day. We played actually a really fun game while we were there.
What was it?
I can't Monocle, like where there's basically 3 rounds and you have cards and it has either a name or a phrase on it, and everyone who's playing, you break into teams, but then everybody gets like a handful of cards and you choose like how many cards you're actually going to use, and that's what goes in the pile. And in the first round, you go back and forth with your teammate to try and get them to say the word and or phrase, and you can use any words that you want. But then in the second round, you can only use one word. So if you say that's it. And you're still going off the same words, like it's the same stack. So if you remember everything, then you can just start saying all of the words and maybe you'll guess it.
Is there's the point to get your friends to guess the name of the card?
Correct. So the name or
so
the phrase on the
moniker.
card. Moniker. That's it. Moniker.
Monikers.
It was so much fun. I think we played 3 rounds. So we all rotated partners to where we all played with each other at least once. So
I've
it was
never played that before. That sounds like fun.
added to the list. It was so much fun. I was laughing so hard, and some points I was crying. Like, it was so much fun. It was just such a good weekend, when you're with people who just, like you were saying, they just fill your soul, and it is just a great experience. So
Well, that sounds like a great Christmas gift with Christmas coming up. If you guys have not started your Christmas shopping yet, this is your like red alarm. You should probably start shopping. And I have a suggestion. You could always check out the Chris and Jen ITM website, and our merch would make great gifts. We've got some new stuff that'll be coming this week, so check it out. There's some cool stuff there, and then we'll have some new stuff dropping this week. We'll make sure to post that on socials as soon as it's live. But www.chrisandjenitm.com. Can't recommend it enough. We wear it. We carry it around. We love it. There's some great stocking stuffers in there, so check it out.
All right. Is it time?
It's time. It's time.
What time is it, Jen?
It's Wicked time.
Let's get to it. So first and foremost, why are we talking about Wicked? Well, not just because we're both huge fans of the Broadway show and absolutely loved the first movie, Wicked. It has become a social thing. Like, have you seen it? Are you talking about it? Are you posting about it? I'm seeing people posting trends like going and seeing the movie with the person you went to see the first one with. Like, it's so everywhere, and I love
Yeah.
it.
Well, I mean, I grew up in Kansas,
So a
like
special
Dorothy.
connection.
Hmm. In fact, while I was just back visiting to be with my dad for his treatment this past weekend, I remembered that there's a park that we went to. Not, I was asking my mom, like, why don't we go to that park more often? Because we went to the park all the time. There's a park in Wichita. I don't know if it still has it, but it, like, there was the Dorothy Yellow Brick Road and all this Wizard of Oz stuff, like, right there where I grew up. So, that was like pretty cool. I think because I grew up in Kansas and the Wizard of Oz was like always, of course, that was the one thing that people knew about Kansas. So when
Yeah.
you would like as a kid go traveling for school or church or whatever functions and people are like, "Where are you from?" And you're like, "Kansas." And they're like, "Oh, Toto, Dorothy." It's like the one people they don't know where Kansas is, but that was what they knew.
Yeah.
Um and so I just sort of took for granted The Wizard of Oz. And then I did not actually see Wicked until Wicked is even more special to me because Wicked was my first Broadway show. The first time I came to New York City, when you gave me the most amazing whirlwind tour of New York, Ace and I went to see Wicked on Broadway, and it was my very first show on Broadway.
Yeah.
And being a kid who, was into theater and, did a lot of that stuff, like that was such an amazing experience. So I will forever love Wicked because it's amazing, but also it has a lot of sentimental value to me. So
Yeah, it holds a special place. And I've seen some things on social media lately that is talked about um people maybe not wanting to go because it's too woke or it's too
oh my gosh.
whatever. So just a little background on where the Broadway musical came from is it's actually based on a book called Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West. And it was written by Gregory Maguire. And it's actually based on L. Frank Baum's classic children's novel, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. So
Yep. And Maguire wrote the book in 1995. And
correct.
then it became a Broadway play. Now, I will say the books I haven't read them. I've read the synopsis of them and there's a lot um that just seems like things get even more complicated
Yeah,
in the
like it's
book.
adapted, but I think
Yeah.
the big point that I'm like trying to whenever I hear people trying to put it through the lens of like whatever is happening in our society and world today, like this content was created
Yeah.
years ago.
Years ago.
Um so believe what you want to believe, but I will say I have been very surprised. All of everything I've heard about the movie was very positive. And as I've been talking to more people about it, they're like, "Oh, I've been really hearing mixed reviews about it." And I'm like,
Well,
"Are
I
you
think we're
kidding?"
just in a time that's so ripe for everything belongs on a side. And, we don't, while that is something we have to check ourselves on, we also don't really ascribe to that belief here at
Correct.
Chris and Jen in the morning. We think that sides are what divide us
That's right.
and united we stand. But I will say one of the surprises I had in watching the movie was I I was thinking, wait a second, was this added in? Because it does seem to really describe some of the situations that we're currently living in. And then I had to think back and go, no, this like was in the show on Broadway when I saw it all those years ago
Right.
before we were in this current political climate. And so that led me to start thinking about like, well, when we look at art, which is always subjective, we always bring a certain perspective
Right.
to it. And, we pull from art what we want to see. That's part of the beauty of art. And like really great artists that make the art that's, sometimes kind of obscure, they're like, well, it's supposed to help you pull out what it is that's within you.
Correct.
And so I started to really think this is really interesting, because is it just kind of in keeping with today's themes? Like there's nothing new under the sun, history repeats itself, these themes are still appropriate? Or is it that I am putting this lens on and making this say something that it's not saying? But it did feel very appropriate to sort of describe some of the things that we have been dealing with in, current day, which I found to be very interesting. And I just keep like becoming aware of little things like that,
Yeah.
that sort of light bulbs that go on. Oh my gosh, I didn't know. And of course, Ace is like, are you serious? Like, that's why I was crying in the movie. I was like, yeah, no, it didn't occur to me. Um,
So let's dive into some of those things.
yeah, well, like first, I would love to talk about what we loved.
Okay, absolutely. I loved it all.
I know, right? Like, I've got to pull up my list because I made some notes. But what did you love the most?
um, I really liked how they leaned into a darker, like, in whenever you see the musical on stage, it's like you have the first part, the act one, which is like the part that I would argue probably has the most memorable songs, most known
Mm,
songs
mm.
live in that act. And then it's not until after intermission, which, is 10, 15 minutes. And you, I think it was like there was a shift within the movie that I didn't really feel comes through on the stage. And
Yeah.
so I really appreciated kind of the filling out of the story, the like really creating the themes and providing a perspective, and a little bit of background for more of the characters about where they were, what brought them to this place, where in the play you just kind of are left to, they
Well,
give
yeah.
little
Well,
clues that you put together.
two movies versus a Broadway play,
Correct.
and then all of the tools at your disposal that you can make happen in a movie that you can't necessarily make happen on stage,
Right.
as amazing as they are at making that stage come to life, because it's incredible.
It
um
is.
when the first movie came out, I remember telling you how apprehensive I was, because there were a few reasons. So, one, the show just means the musical means so much to me sentimentally that, I didn't want it to be done in a way that didn't seem to really like be as good or honor the you know the stage show.
Yeah.
And after seeing the first one, I was like, oh, I don't like, wow, John sure just nailed it. I mean, such a fantastic job. And of course, everyone that made the show come to life, but just nailed it. Really elevated, and I think this is true of the second movie as well, really elevated the storyline by filling it out a little bit more, but not in a way that didn't feel true to the story.
Yeah.
So not using creative license to like sort of rewrite the history of the show, but
Right.
also, filling it out just a little bit. Some of those things that are sort of left to inference, they got to play out a little bit more. I also was a little bit apprehensive because the casting was, Ariana Grande, this like very popular name. And so was it going to be, played so well? And like, guys, she just blows me away. I mean, I've always thought that her musical talent and her range is just a gift that few people have.
Uh-huh.
But her acting, like she really makes the character come to life, and her ability to use, whether it's fluctuation of volume or like to infuse emotion in as she's singing. And then it's not just her singing that's strong, it's her acting. So I was like incredibly impressed. And then Cynthia Erivo, the persona that you see on the red carpet and in the news isn't necessarily the persona that you see on screen. She embodies the persona of Elphaba, I think, so well that these actors elevated, and not just them, the whole cast, they elevated the parts that they play.
Yeah.
They didn't, take over the movie with their personalities. And sometimes that's what happens. And I also love that you can tell that Cynthia Erivo is an artist that is trained in theater. And like that is what she brings to the stage, where Ariana's background was first in music, and you can see how these things come to be, and yet they are both so incredibly like talented. So I thought that was just amazing. I also, I mean, I loved that. I can't even remember. I've distracted myself because I'm just so in awe by those things. I just thought they were incredible. So I was a little apprehensive about how well the movie would come across. And I thought that, the first one came across incredibly well. And then the second one held up, I think, even better. I would love to just screen them back to back, which is saying a lot because I'm not a big double feature fan, but it's just a long time to sit still. But there are so many nods from the first movie in the second movie. And we watched the first movie the night before we went to go see it in theater, the second one. And I just wish I could have been watching it as one cinematic piece, because they did such a great job of working in, like when they're dancing with the wizard, when she comes back in, which is kind of a departure from the Broadway show because this doesn't happen, but it just sort of fills in behind the scenes, the story, because it doesn't change, the story, where she comes in and addresses the wizard and then they all start dancing, they do the little dance from the Ozdust ballroom. So there were tons of little like Easter eggs, if you will, like that nod back to the first act that I just thought was so fun. I also thought how in the first movie you really got to see Elphaba's childhood, and in the second movie you get to focus on Galinda's childhood, and that is not a part of the Broadway show. So getting to see their characters build, getting to really see, and I think they were still very true to Galinda's character and to who she is. But when you then look back at the stage show now, some of the emotion like is richer in. So like, for instance, in the song that Galinda sings at the beginning of Act 2, where what is that song that she sings at the beginning of Act 2?
Couldn't Be Happier?
Yes. Couldn't Be Happier. The song that she sings at the beginning of Act 2, Couldn't Be Happier, the words are the same as what's on Broadway. And yet you can look at that through this lens that is richer and deeper because you better understand the character, yet it's still in keeping with all of the things that have happened. So I love how they filled in the story without changing the story, that makes you more deeply like empathize with the characters.
On the soundtrack that was released for Wicked for Good, Stephen Schwartz has a commentary piece at the very end, and he talks about how, although much of the music, like they added the 2 new musical numbers, the No
Girl
Place
in
Like
a Bubble
Home,
and No Place Like Home.
Yeah, that although those 2 songs are new, they've also kind of reworked some of the other music to make it bigger, grander, adding in another character that maybe wasn't in the original score. So he actually says that about half of the album is actually new music.
Yeah, but they didn't change like the lyrics.
No,
they didn't change the song. So you could see that, like, for instance, the Wicked Witch of the West, no, the
East,
the East, the stepsister, no, the sister,
well,
stepsister. She is a stepsister.
Well,
I guess technically, right? What's her name? Oh
no,
gosh.
a half sister. She would still be a half sister.
You can see where like Nessa Rose in that part where she sings, uh, couldn't be happier, right? She says, she sings a little line like, couldn't be happier.
Oh, because she's talking about being with Bach. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's not in the original movie, the play, uh, musical. Why are you just staring at me?
I don't know if that's true or not.
We'll fact check that.
I just think I think the music was elevated in a way, and then they like there's a different like there's the stage version, and then they adapted it for film, right? And
But I
so
just want to be clear, especially because of your point at the beginning, like about this not being some woke political stance here. They did not go rewrite the words to the song, like the Wizard song where he sings about, it doesn't matter what the truth is because they won't even believe them if I tell them they won't even believe me if I tell them I've been lying. Like that is part of the original song.
yes, like correct. Like the point that I'm making here is that Stephen Schwartz, who is the original writer and lyricist of the play, talks about how the only songs they added to this album were The Girl in a Bubble and No Place Like Home. They then reworked some of the music to add additional characters to fill out from you're now doing a film, so you get to have a full orchestra to get all of
Yeah.
the pieces and parts to really help with the emotion piece
Yeah.
of the music. And so that's why he says like he would say about half the album is actually new music, using air quotes here, because they've kind of been able, with the movie magic, if you will, to kind of re-envision like how this actually comes across and is delivered.
Yeah, it's like super full and yeah, very rich. Some of the reprises of the songs in different arrangements being peppered in that I think are super poignant.
Yeah.
Um,
I will say that I think No Good Deed, although I've seen the play many of times, I don't think that song has ever hit as hard as whenever I saw it on film. Like
really,
the music gave me goosebumps, like her body language, the way Cynthia Erivo sang it, like everything about
I
that
think
was so
that
good.
and Defy Gravity are the two in the musical on Broadway that always hit for me. Like just, but I do love that part of cinema is not only setting the scene more fully and more richly, but you really can see, no matter what seat you're sitting in, you
Right.
can see all of the emoting of the face. And, you see the anguish in, I'm doing all of these things and I am trying desperately to make good, and it's all becoming, just turning into something bad. And so I'm never going to do any good deed again. Um, so I just phenomenal. I also have to say, first, I so appreciate that one of the songs uses one of the key lines from The Wizard of Oz, "No place like home," in such a beautiful way. And what is so poetic about this song for me is all I could think is, this message is so appropriate right now as we have this divisiveness within the country and this talk about, leaving the country. And you and I have had this conversation, I think, in past podcasts on air where we talk about, like, you know, just because you don't agree with something doesn't mean you pick up everything and leave. There is something about home that, you know, you have like loyalty for. And if you just leave, how is that anything ever changes?
Right.
And I know we talked with April and Shayna about that very concept as we talked about Pride Kelso. And so um, that felt very much like a call to action, whatever side of the division that seems to be happening in our country that you fall on, that when we disagree, you don't just pick up your stuff and leave. Home is for everybody. And there's something more than just the physical space that makes it home for us. So
Yeah.
you don't turn your back on your country just because you find that things get hard. And I just have goosebumps talking about it now. I think Cynthia Erivo did such a phenomenal job on that song, and it just adds to the story and elevates it. So I thought it was phenomenal. And then the girl in the bubble, I think also very in keeping with the like theme of the original score of the Broadway show. It doesn't feel like it's out of place, just like No Place Like Home does not feel like it's out of place. So they, it would be easy to write songs that just sort of add in and don't really feel like a part of the original, but
Yeah.
they really feel like they could have belonged all along. And I feel like it really helped to express how the Glinda character is really feeling throughout the show. And I feel like on the stage show, you really get to see the evolution of Elphaba's character and her emotions as she goes from idolizing this wizard to, discovering what's real. And you really get to see and relate to her experience. And while everyone that plays Glinda is so fantastic, the show really isn't focused, although she is a main character, on her evolution. And the movies, I feel like, gave an opportunity to really give her equal billing in that.
Yeah.
And I also felt like this song could say a lot about how we should be showing up.
Well, I enjoyed the song. I think what was more powerful about that number was how they filmed it, because it was always through a reflection that you were seeing her perform this number through. And so to me,
I didn't catch that.
yeah, it was definitely a unique way that they approach the filming of it. And so I think it really does talk about like really looking at yourself in the mirror and having to be okay with that reflection that you're seeing. And so I agree. I think in the movie it does a better job of really explaining the evolution of that character and understanding this, like, how do I remain true to myself, but also like how do I find balance in this, that I know that I don't agree with this other part. And so you really see this character struggle, and but you also get to see, like you were talking about earlier on in the film, they show you a little bit of her childhood, and you begin to see like kind of how she was taught to look at life and how to approach it, and how that has
Yeah.
likely informed a lot of the way that she just kind of glides through life and has fun and makes her way in the world.
Yeah. And that conversation she has with Fiero after she announces that they're engaged, and he calls her out for saying, you just can't refuse all of this, and she says, well, so what? Who could? And he says, you know exactly who could and who did. And, you see the war within her. And
Yeah.
I think this whole story is, to me, about how there's a little bit of Elphaba and a little bit of Galinda in all of us. And there is no good or one, wholly good or wholly evil. And I also think in this movie, Elphaba has a part where you see in cinematic magic her looking back at herself at the university and asking, in No Good Deed, like, was that just me wanting to get attention, or was I really trying to do something good? And
Yeah.
is this the payback? And you can't really make that connection, I don't think, quite as easily in the stage show, because you don't have that cinematic magic happening. So you have to really be in that thinking
Yeah,
phase
I mean,
to make that connection.
I really saw this as like, as much as I enjoy the Broadway musical of it, to me that's a Broadway musical. That's
Yeah.
done on stage, that's done with microphones, live actors, like all of those things, where doing it in film allows you a little bit more freedom and a little bit more space, and it doesn't come across the same as
Yeah,
stage acting does. So
but
you have
yet
to.
it just feels richer. Like, it just feels like the same chocolate chip cookie with more chocolate chips.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's like it doesn't feel like they took something and made it different. it feels like they just filled in the parts that were always there that you didn't see.
Right.
And that is so difficult to do. So difficult. And I think John Chu just is a freaking genius for being able to pull that off. And I think so many people will not realize how absolutely challenging that is. But to me, that says so much about not only their love for what was originally created, but their commitment to an ability to take something and fill it in without, putting themselves and their ideas
Right.
first. And that's just a beautiful gift, I think. But if I go back to A Girl in the Bubble, what I love about that song, it's a sad song, of course. I love a sad song, right? A little ballad. But what I love is it really, like, she's saying it would be so easy for me to live in this place where none of these hard things that are happening touch me, and I just sort of get to keep all the things that I think I want and not have to deal with all these really hard things. But maybe it's time for my bubble to pop. And I think that's a hard question that we have to ask ourselves no matter what is happening, like no matter where on the timeline of politics we are. It's so easy to isolate ourselves into these worlds where we're like, well, that doesn't impact me. And so I don't really have to worry about it versus kind of opening our eyes and really starting to empathize and understand what's going on out there. And
Right.
so I thought it was just so poetic and so timely and appropriate for what is happening in our world today. And it's so much of what I think, whatever your beliefs are, wherever you are, it's so much of what I think we need to be doing more of is, really seeing each other and seeing what life is like and what our experiences are like so that we can come together and lift everybody up. And I feel my interpretation is that is what this song is getting at.
Well, yeah, it's her truly challenging the way that she goes through life, which is ultimately what builds to the song, um, their song For Good,
Mm-hmm.
because they're talking about the things like you've moved me out of my comfort zone. You've made me see things and experience things and think about things from a different perspective that before I wouldn't have. And so when she talks about Girl in the Bubble, where she talks about like just popping the bubble, like both literal and figuratively. Like,
Yeah. I mean, uh, just amazing.
yes,
Amazing. So what
all
did
of
I
it's so,
love?
so good.
That's what I loved. Is there anything you didn't love?
Okay. So I loved this. If you are asking me to be super critical about something, I will say they changed some of the music. And I think they did this. And Madame Marble is played by Michelle Yeoh, and she is a great actress. And I think she did so, 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 so good. However, I don't think her musical chops were the strongest. And I think because of that, some of the music was changed, and some of the parts that character is involved in the Broadway show and music, she was not. And so I will say I like was a little disappointed by that, but did it ruin the movie? And was I like, get
Yeah.
your things, we're leaving? No, I was not that way.
Yeah. There were two things for me that I didn't like. One, I saw it in 3D, and I didn't like that. I think I told you a lot about that. I um I felt like when the camera was moving, you could like it made everything kind of blurry. Now I will say I then saw it not in 3D, so I've seen it twice. And there was still a little bit of blurriness to like faces as the cameras were moving and stuff. It must have been like the way that they shot it, probably intentionally, but um as you're looking at this sea of people, like any, Broadway stage full of the company would be, if you look over at the character that is over on the side that's not necessarily being focused on, it kind of made me a little dizzy. It's hard to pick out their facial expressions. So not the main characters, but, kind of the surrounding characters. But in 3D, that was like really amped up. And so um, I didn't think that the 3D added anything. I actually felt
Okay.
like that took away from the show. Um, but that's just my opinion. And then um the second thing for me, I was talking to Ace and I just said the one thing that I felt like there was one thing that felt rushed to me, and that was like at the very end. I just felt like they spent all of this time with the story leading up, and then the very end just felt rushed. Like we were just, okay, we've run out of time and now we have to get to the end. And so I wonder if there are some things that they left on the cutting room floor where they had to make some of those really hard cuts for time.
But like where are you talking about? Like from what point do you feel it was rushed?
So I knew you were going to press me on this, and I'm struggling to like be able to recall that. Um just my overall feeling was at the very end they just wrapped it really quick. And I'd love to see an extended cut
All
because
right.
I bet there are some things that were cut. I just felt like, oh, we just jumped really quickly through all of this and here we are.
Like, are you talking? I guess I'm trying to like figure out like what you're considering. Like, so did you feel the like from the part where they sang for good, they went their separate ways, Dorothy melts her, like from that point on, or do you think even further back than that?
No, I really feel like it's from that point.
Okay.
And I know in the show on Broadway it all happens really quickly, but the whole, like they just added so much in to the rest of the story, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it feels like we just wrapped that up really quickly. Like when you read a romance novel or something and you spend all this time, or you watch a Hallmark movie and you spend all this time, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, we had our conflict moment and then we have the end and we're right here and we're done and we're finished. And I know like it gets boring once you solve all the problems to like just linger, but it just felt like we wrapped it up really fast.
Gotcha.
So I felt like the pacing of the movie was really nice until you get to the very end, and then it feels like we've changed pacing all of the sudden. And I'm wondering if they had to leave things on the cutting room floor that may change that a little bit. Now, again, that's like being hypercritical because I just, you know, what did I not love? I mean, I loved it all.
Yeah, it's a
From
hard question to ask. Like, I just think like there is nothing is ever perfect, right? And so you always like if you could tweak something, change it. You want it a little bit more or a little less.
what
Like,
do I wish I had a little more of? I wish that the pacing at the very end of the movie felt like it was as drawn as the rest of the movie. Um, what surprised you? Was there anything that surprised you?
um, I think I found myself as I was watching it like more in my feels than what I was expecting to. Like, I am not generally a person who sees a movie and gets all up in my feels about it. I enjoy watching it from an entertainment perspective. But then as like I was watching this and seeing these actors, like just I feel like they put it all out there
Yeah.
and especially the part where Elphaba hides Glinda so that she's not seen there. I heard that the part once they closed the door, the rest of that was improvised. And so what you're seeing is like a cut that was not, it was not meant to, like they were just going to see where it goes. And I just thought that was so touching. And I think you really see how much these two care for each other
Yeah.
in such a deep way. And I was a little surprised by that.
Yeah, there were some, we know being in having spent our careers in HR, that, you do team building and you get to know each other. And then that, really adds to the work that you do together and how you build this synergy with each other. And so you could really see that on set show
Yeah.
up. The relationships that they have with each other really add to the story that they bring. And that was really magical. I would say something that I'm left kind of wondering about, that, and maybe this is a part of where I feel like the pacing is off, or, like they explain so many things and this was left sort of unexplained. Throughout the movie, they talk about how people are saying you could melt the witch with water. And Fiero's like, what is that, Galinda? They're having this conversation. They're like, people will believe, anything. And so they're acknowledging that that's crazy and not real. And then Galinda gets melted.
No, Elphaba gets melted.
Sorry, Elphaba gets that's what I mean. Surprise! It's Galinda that gets melted. No.
You definitely saw a different version.
Elphaba gets melted, and they've already talked about how we know this isn't real. And so is Galinda really believing that that Elphaba's melted? Or does she know that Elphaba's gone away? So my take on it was that, no, she knows that Elphaba is hiding, that she hasn't really melted. She knows she's not dead. She just knows that she can't see her again because Elphaba has to disappear. But then at the very, very end, where they're in the Star Wars like scene, in the sand, that's the third world, by the way. They're in the Star Wars scene in the sand, walking together off into the beyond,
the great unknown.
Yeah, Elphaba is saying to Fiero, I wish that Galinda could know that we were alive, but she can't. But why would Galinda think that Elphaba is dead if what she saw was have a bucket of water get thrown on her? Because Galinda knows that a bucket of water doesn't kill the witch.
Well, I don't think she knows that. I think there's like the guessing. And then don't forget, like, she saw it all in the shadows, which I love that they kept it that way. Because when you see it on Broadway, that's also how they do it. They pull a curtain and you see
the shadows.
Right.
Yes.
And so maybe that's like that feeds into why she would believe that.
In the book, Elphaba's, in the actual book from Paul McGuire, Elphaba's cape gets caught on fire. And that's why Dorothy throws the bucket of water at her, is to put it out, which is not something that's a part of the Broadway show or the movie. So just a little tidbit for you. But yeah, that was the thing that sort of surprised me, is that part was sort of left ambiguous, where I feel like both of the movies really were focused on taking away some of the ambiguity or the things that are left between the words unsaid of the Broadway show. That surprised me. And then also, I didn't really know what was happening at the end, because I had been told to be prepared for surprises. And I was like, I don't want to be hearing anything else. I believe it was you that told me that you had heard to be prepared for surprises. And then they were like, Fiero is dead, which, he, spoiler, wasn't. But I knew how the story went, and I thought, oh my God, this is how they're changing. I mean, oh my goodness, this is how they're changing it, And so, I was like, what's happening here? So I was really drawn in, instead of being like, I know exactly what's going to happen. I'm glad that they honored, the storyline of the Broadway play, but that I was surprised by those things.
Okay. I don't remember telling you that things had changed. I do remember us talking about how, like, people found themselves more emotional than they were expecting it to be. Like, I just think,
what
like,
you said first was you were told to be prepared for surprises. And I was like, what do you mean? Did they change things? And I think that was how you responded, was be prepared for, like, emotional whatever. But in the back of my head was like, Oh, maybe this is where it happens.
See, this is why I should be careful with the words that I use.
Well, I think it added to my like watching the show because I mean, in the play, she doesn't show up to face off with the wizard, and she does in the movie. So,
Yeah, I would agree. That's a good perspective.
which character's emotional journey hit you differently than the Broadway show?
I think they did such a good job with Bach slash the Tin Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was because in the play or in the musical, you don't really see that character transition. Um, and so getting to kind of see a little bit more of that, hear it, and I don't know, like I was so surprised at how like strong that moment was in the movie.
Yeah.
And then as they continue to like that character's timeline progressed in the movie, like to see what was really driving him. And I don't know, like I was really surprised by that.
His
um
background is also in stage, by the way, and he is a phenomenal actor. And what really sold that for me is watching the special that you told me to watch on Peacock.
uh-huh
You see him sing and play Fiero's part
yeah.
in one of the songs, and he plays that part of Fiero. I mean, that man wears the confidence of, like the most confident leading man. And that is not at all who shows up as Bach. He shows up exactly as the character of Bach, who lacks confidence, is timid, all of those things. And so that just further sealed for me. This is an amazing actor because he is really playing the part
Yeah.
and not like being one of those actors that just plays the same character every time. So just phenomenal. The cast was just phenomenal. Phenomenal.
It was everyone was cast so well. Like I said, if there was one person that I wish just
I
had the
know
musical
Michelle Yeoh's
chops,
singing.
that was the
Just
one part.
although we love her, she's
Yeah.
incredible.
Look, I am not mad. I thought she did it so well. I thought that she showed up, and her acting prowess definitely what added to the cast and to the emotion. And she,
Before seeing the first movie, even though I've seen Wicked how many times on Broadway, I don't even know. I didn't realize Madame Morrible, Madame Horrible. It was there in the name all along. And she plays that character so well that it's so obvious it's Madame Horrible.
well, and they like give you more behind. You get to see more
Yeah,
of her as well, which
you
I
do.
think was really really helpful.
Yeah.
Um, so when you think about the characters toward, like, you may have felt the pacing was a little fast towards the end, but whenever you look back on the journey, like whose sacrifice do you felt was more impactful?
Oh gosh. I mean, the character whose emotional journey hit more for me was Galinda's, for sure, because I think they took the time to really like draw her out, and it was like that was what you were supposed to get to see in the second movie, which I loved. Um I mean, I think that these movies do such a great job of really shining a light on everybody's emotional struggles. So there's, Bach, who's in love with Galinda from the beginning all the way to the end. And I don't take it that he's trying to lead Nessa Rose along, but, had he just not done that from the beginning, he wouldn't have been trapped with this person who becomes so truly evil. I guess you don't really get to feel Nessa Rose's sacrifice because she goes from this, beloved little princess to then this, what seems like spoiled, selfish person. And I'm sure there's more to her backstory. So it'd be interesting to see a story written from that perspective. Um, I probably, I mean, the thing is, Elphaba got what she wanted, which was to be able to go away with, not go, she didn't want to go away, but she got to be with Fiero, even though she had to leave home. And she sang that whole beautiful song about there's no place like home. Galinda got what she wanted, which, was to be in that position, beloved by all of us. And so in a way, it's like they both sacrificed equally because what they were sacrificing was each other, and they clearly loved each other so much. Um, I don't know.
That's an interesting perspective. I didn't think of it that way because I did not think Elphaba's end goal was to be with Fiero. I saw her as wanting to have like equality in Oz for people to understand like you're following someone who has no real power. You're being used.
But she got all of that because she was able to convince Galinda, go be the good, so she got for Oz what she wished for Oz. She did say to Fiyero, will I ever see you again? And he said, you can see, tornadoes or whatever it was.
You see
And
houses
flying through the sky, and yet you can't see that we will be together forever.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful line. But, I do think she got a bit of something in that she has a partner to who she loves, and she there's that whole song, and on Broadway they do it under the bridge, which I love the most, the sad song of I'm not that girl. And she longs for Fiyero and wants him. Like, what do you mean you didn't know this was what Elphaba wanted? She longs to be with Fiyero, and yet she's not that girl.
Yeah, I still don't know if I interpret it that way. Like I will agree. Like the things that she was hoping for for Oz did end up coming true. But when you think about what she wanted to be a partner to the wizard. She wanted to be another great figure. Correct.
But then
like
she says she can't want those things anymore. Right. I don't want it anymore. I can't want it anymore.
But I think it's like that evolution of them all, that you kind of go on this journey and their wants, needs, and desires and their motivating factors have changed.
Let's talk about who got the worst end of the stick. Whose sacrifice was the worst? It was Box. Let's just be honest.
Was it Box or was it the Cowardly Lion?
No, to me, that actually... I get what they were doing and giving that storyline, but I'm like, really? You want to sit here and complain about how you got rescued from a cage? That felt weak.
A cage that he always knew as his home.
I guess you could make some parallel lines there to real life today. But I was just kind of like, open your eyes, buddy.
Toughen up, Buttercup.
I did not have any compassion for the Cowardly Lion. I am so sorry. There was no empathy. There was no compassion. I did not feel for him. However, the Tin Man, lost everything and now is made of tin, chopping with an axe. And that to me is like so sad, especially because you do get to see more of his character and you get to say to him, like, you get to watch him say what, I want to go live my life, what is left of it. And then he gets immediately turned into a Tin Man and now he has nothing left.
Well, I feel bad for Nessa Rose. She had a house dropped on her. She was a pawn in a game.
She chose to be evil, so...
Did she choose that?
A girl that was given everything and she just chose to be bitter and evil instead of having good in her heart.
She had all this responsibility thrust upon her, the person that used to always take care of her and be there for her.
I don't have empathy for Nessa Rose either. So the Lion and Nessa Rose, they need a story or something. Apparently I need to see why I should have empathy for them but Bach, I feel like he may have made the biggest sacrifice here. What does he get? He doesn't get anything in the end. No trade-off for him. Maybe he'll get Galinda.
Maybe. Possibly. He has a heart back.
He has a heart back? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he gets the heart back. in Wizard of
I
Oz,
thought you
but
said he had a hard back, and I was like, well, it's made of tin. I don't know. I'm not sure that Galinda really likes a hard-backed man.
yeah, no, I think I do think it's interesting that one leaves to go seek something that they hoped for, not in a place that they wanted or were hoping for, when while the other goes away or
Yeah,
stays, but their life greatly changes. And I
yeah,
think that to me was, when I look at those two characters,
but Galinda's so lonely.
when but when like Elphaba looks back at the hat before she walks away, like that to me is like her truly understanding, like this was my shield,
Yeah,
my everything, for the past several years, as
yeah,
she was
and
being
now
the
it's
Wicked
gone.
Witch of the West, and now she has laid that down, and she is now going and seeking something different for herself. Um, I just thought like that was really powerful, and I liked how they kind of let it linger, the
Yeah,
camera to linger, so it didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel, like a why did they could have saved 3 seconds if they cut that out. Like I like that it lingered for a little
yeah.
longer.
I would take a third new, altogether new movie uh, of somebody's beautiful story writing of what happens next. I'd take it. Um, all right. So, last question. If you could take one prop piece or costume, which would it be?
I would take Galinda's wand. It was
I
beautiful.
I would take Galinda's pink little chiffon dress, big, that she wore when she sang, I think when she sang Girl in the Bubble, that like with all the layers, the pink dress, and then
Yeah.
it's like she has this dress on, she's gonna go do business, you know? Um, that like is just the epitome of every princess dress I ever wanted to have
Yeah.
growing up. So that's what I would take.
Um, you know what has also caused a lot of stir
What?
on social media, talking about props? Um, the knitted sweater that Elphaba wore
Oh,
whenever they were singing,
yeah.
what song was
They're
that?
in the treehouse and they're singing about each
As Long as
other.
You're Mine.
Yeah.
So the gray sweater that Elphaba was wearing whenever they were singing As Long as You're Mine, people have been so upset because Paul, I think he pronounces it Tazwell, did the costumes, won an award for it.
Phenomenal.
And they're like, they put her in a gray cardigan that's falling apart. Like, I've seen a lot of stuff on it, and I was like, ooh, I wonder how I'm gonna
Why
feel
would
when I
she
see the
have
movie.
anything else? She's living in the trees.
Uh, Look, I think it's just this idea of, you have these characters in such robust colors and fittings and all, like it just felt like it didn't fit to some people,
That's
which
so interesting. I thought it was so fitting when she put it on because it was this idea of I'm back in my home now, so I'm getting comfortable.
yeah,
I'm putting on something soft and cozy. Um, but also it's tattered because, I don't have nice things because I'm living in the trees out
yeah,
in exile. And so to me, I just thought it was the perfect thing for her to be wearing. And then it's gray because, of course, she is the color and nothing about her is in color. And it's like a very, muted world that she's living in,
yeah.
dark times. And so I just thought it was incredibly fitting. I thought that he did a fantastic job of.
I don't think that it took away from the film one single bit.
Hashtag I love the cardigan.
We'll see if we can find one for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'd wear that.
I did want to share with you that I had seen this Instagram, TikTok, I don't know. It was on something.
Are you
And it
even on
was
TikTok? You're never on TikTok.
no, I'm
No.
not on TikTok. So it had been like in my Instagram reels or something.
Guys, it wasn't on TikTok.
Was But Mary Kate
But we are.
Morrissey, Mary-Kate Morrissey, who played Elphaba on Broadway around the time that the movie screenings were coming out, she talks about how she saw the second movie and she said that she actually liked the second movie better than the first, and she provided a little bit of perspective as to why. She's like, at the time I was playing this role, I had been, we do it 8 times a week or something like that. And she's like, it was on my off day that they were hosting a special thing for all of us. And she's like, as the person who is currently on stage doing it and watching someone's interpretation of it, but a very different interpretation of it, it just kind of hit differently the first
Yeah.
movie did. So she said, whenever I go into the second movie, she's like, when you play Elphaba, there are just certain parts of that storyline that don't come out during the play. So it's all things that like you have conceptualized in your mind
Yeah.
to play this role on stage. And she's like, for the first time, I was seeing the things that I had in my mind and I was getting to experience it. And so it really
Love
provided
that.
her uh a way to see something and to share it and experience it with people that she had never gotten to do before. But I also thought she explains in such a great way, like there's a difference between building a world for stage
Yes.
acting and performance versus getting to do it on a screen where you do have all these other tools and
Tools.
instruments at your fingertips if you choose to use them.
Yeah, 1,000%. And that's where I think we give a little bit more freedom in our mind because we know that it can be different, but you also have to use that power so carefully because you could so easily change things
Right.
that then would not feel like they were still true. It felt like while there were new things, it all felt true to canon because they were like filling in the spaces. Even with Elphaba going back and confronting the wizard, you could argue that was a departure from the storyline, but it doesn't really change what happens later. So to me, it's just filling in the parts that they didn't get to tell on the stage.
Yeah.
And I love that. I can't believe I was about to close this conversation without talking about the wedding scene.
Oh,
Can't,
you. Uh, so even after I saw the movie with our friends we were staying with, I asked them like, did this scene remind you of any other uh movie?
what movie?
Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh, I just thought I am ready to file divorce papers and then get down on my knee and ask my husband to marry me again just so that I can have that wedding.
Are you serious?
It was beautiful.
Oh, it was
Oh,
absolutely
I mean, without the
gorgeous.
animals running through it, right? But like the place that she was getting married in, that room, like just beautiful. They got the moss hanging down, and you've got the flower petals coming up
Yeah.
as she steps forward. And I just thought, and just all the colors, and I just thought, oh, so many wedding planners are going to have their hands very full because so many women are going to want this to be their wedding. And
So
I am one of those basic girls.
So John Chu also directed
Crazy Rich
Crazy Rich
Asians. Yeah, yeah.
Asians. So that man can really pull off a wedding scene.
I
Like
don't
it was
remember
gorgeous.
the wedding scene of Crazy Rich Asians, which I love that movie, but I don't remember the wedding scene. So I guess now I'm going to have to go look at some photos of that wedding scene.
Yeah.
But
It was again stunning and really used like I would say the space, the shots, the magicality of it like very much
yeah.
so echoed the same sentiments.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it. I just like
I feel like
was
the world building, the cinematic world building within this movie was little bits of Harry Potter, meet little bits of Avatar, meet little bits of Star Wars. And the Harry Potter, you see a lot come out in the school. It very much like calls upon reminiscent thoughts of Harry Potter, but in a brighter, wicked colored sort of world. And then you see, like, as they're running through the forest in the first movie, to set the lion free, and in the second movie, like, you see, like, what to me calls upon some of the styling of Avatar. And then you get to, like, the scene that in No Good Deed where she goes into that castle, and she's, like, walking up that, like, ridge and standing on that circle with nothingness all around, and then in, of course, the white sand dunes and in the place beyond. That to me very much looks like scenes, calls upon scenes I've seen from Star Wars movies. And so I felt like what he did was, like, had all these visions of all of these great, worlds that were built, and sort of pulled inspiration from
Yeah.
all of those to create this world of Wicked.
It was so good. It was
And I'm
so
ready
good.
to go to a theme park that's Wicked themed. Like, I'm all about
Make
it.
it happen, people.
I'm ready.
Make it
So,
happen.
Wicked theme park.
Well, as of today, the Hollywood Reporter is recording that Wicked for Good opened to a record smashing of 150 million in North America and 226 million worldwide, which includes
Wow.
the preview numbers. So it is.
When you say record, which record is that breaking? Every movie ever?
No, I think there was one other movie that beat it out as of late, and I think I didn't see the movie. It was like it's like based off of like a kid's game that beat it out.
Oh, like Minecraft?
Yes,
Sure.
that was it. Which I was shocked by. It was like, really? But then when you think about who the audience is for, like, okay, well, maybe.
I just think it's amazing. I think they did such a fantastic job. I am so grateful for this whole entire team that brought these movies together, those whose names we know and those whose names we don't, because, it takes a village to make a movie. And their commitment, their dedication, their artistry, like, all of that comes out. We take that so much for granted because we think, oh, this is something we pay for, and oh, all these people make so much money, and, all these things. But, like, really, I think life is richer when we have these pieces of art, and how much this art really calls upon the humanity within us to see people for who they are instead of labeling them for what would be so easy to label them as, this us versus them sort of mentality that you and I talk about so much. And that is, I think, a part of why I so appreciate this story, whether it's on play or the movies, and anything that brings that story and that thinking to more people. I just am so appreciative of, because I think this world is a better place when we see each other.
Yep. Unless you're Nessa Rose or the Cowardly Lion, in which case Jen needs a better understanding of their storyline before she can feel compassion for them.
I mean, would I, like, cut them down? No, but, like, do I think that maybe they're being a little selfish? 1,000%. I feel like they were selfish characters.
All right. Well, thank you for holding off on sharing your thoughts with me and allowing me my opportunity to see the film.
I'm so excited to have you back now because I have so many other things non-Wicked related to talk to you about.
Lots to chat about. But we would love to hear from all of you who have seen the movie so far, depending on the platform you're listening to us on. Feel free to throw a comment in on the video or the podcast. You can always reach out to us via email at chrisjeninthemorning@gmail.com, or you can call, leave a voicemail, text us at 940-278-8129.
Yeah, and because we don't want everyone that comes to the feed to see spoilers, if you are still with us and listening, drop a comment in the feed, in the comments, where whatever platform you're on, and just let us know which costume or prop item would you take with you if you could? We would absolutely love to know what like still calls to you from the movie and what you wish you had. So definitely so appreciate you being with us. Would love to hear your thoughts and feelings and opinions, as Chris said. And we really hope that you have a fantastic week. It's an amazing holiday week. I thought that Thanksgiving was next week as we were preparing to record this, and it's not. It's this week, guys. So start your holiday shopping if you haven't yet. And we really hope that you enjoy this Thanksgiving. We'll be back with some Thanksgiving messages later this week, so stay tuned for that. But just be kind to yourselves, be kind to one another, and make it a really great week this week.
Bye, everyone.